Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Thursday, May 12th, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. Great television archives at the top of the page, and of course eye candy on the bottom. This is a funny picture today. I'll talk about this later. It goes back to 1980, but we've just been having a great time this week and a little stroll down memory lane. It was 27 years ago this week that I got to St. Louis and started broadcasting out of that little Quonset hut on Watson Road known as Casey, and about 7 or 8 radio stations later, 27 years later, here we are, middays 10 until 1 on the Big 550 KTRS. And it's just great because by the time you watch this, probably most of or all of today's radio show will be over, and I feel bad for you because it's going to be such a great show. It's been sort of a theme every day. Like Monday we did all the people who have television talk shows or had television talk shows. Today is Music Day, and it's just so great. Just alone today, Elton John, Madonna, Roger McGuinn, Roger Daltrey, Nancy Wilson of Heart, Paul McCartney, Bob Seger, Don Brewer of Grand Funk, our trip to the Abbey Road Studios, Don Henley from the Eagles, Eric Clapton, Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac, and John Fogerty from CCR. So that's what's on the show. Now, tomorrow, Friday, is Spectacle Day. Over the course of the last nearly 3 decades, there have been certain things that we've done that would pin the meter. In some cases, got us in trouble. In some cases, got us more attention than we had essentially planned on. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. You never get in trouble for what you think you're going to get in trouble for. You know, it's not like you do something and go, okay, that's going to really be a lot of trouble. It's always that call you get at 3:30 in the afternoon. We need to talk to you. I'm like, for what? Then you start thinking, what do we do? You have no idea. And then when they tell you what you're in trouble for, you're like, you're kidding, right? What are you talking about? And oftentimes it's somebody who didn't hear what was said. They were told that you said something about them or a certain situation or something like that. And then you have to say, no, that's not what we said. A lot of times it's not what we meant. You know, it just stands to reason if you're talking for 3-4 hours a day and there's no script or anything, no rehearsal, that on occasion, something on occasion is going to come out sounding different than you had intended. And it's just part of the gig, but it's just amazing that people who run radio stations sort of don't get that and they start panicking, and people start pointing fingers, there's yelling and screaming and crying, and welcome to broadcasting. All right, but it's been a great time this week, and thank you, by the way, for all the kind messages that you have sent along. You can always send me a message at jc@jcontheline.com, or if you go to my website, jcontheline.com, there's a little place where you can send me a message, and I try to read as many as I can, and I usually get to all of them. I respond to as many as I can, too. Sometimes people aren't deserving of a response. Sometimes people send things to you and you say, I'm really not interested in your opinion, by the way, you're a hostile prick, and why don't you just back off? And then other times, you know, you're just sitting there minding your own business, you're just doing your show, you're doing your work, you're communicating with people who contact you via the internet, but every once in a while there's just a guy who just doesn't seem to sort of get what the system is. Well, never mind, we'll get to that later. Let's do some news here. This is a great story. I lived in Michigan, all told, for about, 3.5 years. In Michigan on May 3rd, a woman lost an uncontested election for a school board seat because she got 0 votes. So let me just, go over this again. So this woman is running for a school board seat, but she is got no opponent. Okay, nobody is running against her. But because she skipped voting to go watch her son's baseball game, she didn't even vote for herself, and nobody else voted for her either. So the final total school board election was 0-0. So she lost an uncontested election. I love stories like that. Charlie Sheen, he's going around telling everybody that he's going to get his old job back at 2.5 Men, and the network is like, we don't know what he's talking about, okay? We have no idea what this man's talking about. In the meantime, while Charlie's going around telling people he's got his old gig back, a story emerged overnight that is just amazing. They almost replaced Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men with, of all people, Hugh Grant. You know, I don't think Hugh Grant's ever been on television other than television talk shows. But apparently the talks got very, very serious, but ended up stalling over creative differences. There's still a remote possibility they could put this thing together and that Hugh Grant could succeed Charlie Sheen. And for all the talk there is about, well, you know, that show is nothing without Charlie Sheen. And if he leaves, then the show is dead. I don't know. You put Hugh Grant in there, I think the curiosity factor alone might put it over the top. All right, so last week here on Eye Candy, and it's still in the archives a couple of squares over, we put the picture, the before and after picture, I think it was on Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. The before and after picture of Bristol Palin, who clearly had plastic surgery done. Now, they bring in these plastic surgeons, and these guys, these men and women who do this stuff are so good that you can just show them a picture before and after, and they can say, okay, here's what she had done. She had this and this and this and this and this, and that's what they did. People Magazine, a couple of the networks and stuff like that brought in plastic surgeons and said, here's the before picture, here's the after picture, and again, you can see it. It's just a couple of squares over from Friday. And Bristol Palin said, that's baloney. I just lost a lot of weight. I didn't have any surgery. Well, people just kept pounding on it enough so that finally yesterday she admitted that she did have plastic surgery, but it wasn't elective, it was corrective, according to her. She said she had it done for medical reasons so her jaw and her teeth could properly align. And the question then becomes, well then why did you have the stuff done to your cheeks, into your nose, into your eyes, and why did you have fat sucked out of your neck? Why don't you just get it over with, cop to the whole thing, and just be done with it? But no, she's going to continue to lie about it. Because why? Because she comes from a family of liars. Jennifer Aniston. Okay, we talked about her a couple of weeks ago on the show, on the Big 550 KTRS. Trish and I do the show from 10 until 1 every day at 550 on the AM dial. And got talking about Jennifer Aniston. And again, here's a woman who has had no kids, has taken pretty good care of herself, doesn't seem to be caught up in drugs or a lot of drinking, no cigarette smoking and all that. And she's, what, 41 now, and looks absolutely fabulous. Now, you know, facially, she's starting to get that rounding thing, but still looks great, especially if she has her hair a certain way. You know, she looks damn good. Physically, you feel like from the neck down, the body, oh, you know, like a 15 on a scale of 10. Every 41-year-old woman should be so fortunate as to look that good. But if you haven't had any kids, I mean, that's what does it to you. That's what starts tearing your body apart. And she hasn't had any kids. She looks fabulous. And as we were talking about Jennifer Aniston on the show a couple of weeks ago, I like a lot of her movie choices. I hate most of them. But she does this little handful of movies that just sort of come out in dribs and drabs that are really, really good choices. Office Space, Friends with Money, and The Good Girl. Oh, fabulous movie, The Good Girl. But people don't see those movies at the rate that they see these stupid romantic comedies where she plays the same character in the same situation, unlucky in love, all the time. If you know what Jennifer Aniston movies to see, then you see some really, really good movies. With all that said, I haven't seen the movie, I've only seen the trailer, and it's online, you can see it too. This is a movie coming out called Horrible Bosses, and she plays sort of a sex-crazed dental hygienist. And Colin Farrell is in this movie. He's got this comb over. Jason Sudeikis from Saturday Night Live is in it. I've seen the trailer, and it looks hysterical, and her role in this movie looks fabulous too. So we'll let you know when that movie is coming out, but you can do anything with a trailer. You can make Stopper, My Mom Will Shoot look like a good movie in the trailer. You know, oftentimes, oh boy, I'd like to tell you how many times I got suckered in by a good trailer. But let's see on this one. Let's just see. Everybody is speculating, all right, who's going to be the final guest on the final Oprah Winfrey show? All right, who's going to, and people have suggested, you know, maybe the president or maybe this person or that person, and nobody has really known. Now, there's a rumor going on, and again, May 25th is what we're talking about, and the rumor is that the final guests on the show will be Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. Not what I would have expected, but maybe they got something up their sleeve. Let's wait and see. All right, there is an iPhone app that's popping up today, and it's called iAugment. iAugment. And what you do is you put in a picture of yourself, and then you push some buttons and stuff, and it'll tell you what you look like with a breast augmentation. Again, iAugment. is the name of the thing that comes out today. Have some fun with that. 20 years ago, 3 out of 4 high school yearbooks featured someone who was named most likely to succeed. Now, in my high school yearbook, I should dig it up so you know I'm not making this up, I was voted most school spirit. And there's a reason for that, because it's not what you think it is. And also best speaker. So, all right, so I knew even back then, and I think all the guys in my school knew where I was headed. So yearbooks now, though, are getting out of the business of putting in one of those most likely to succeed people, because they have done surveys, and something like 1/3 of all the people in high schools who were voted most likely to succeed found that it was a curse, and it was like they were under so much pressure that they ended up being big losers. The world is changing, folks. The world's changing. And last but not least, we say happy birthday today to one of the great old men, and I say that with all due respect. Yogi Berra is 86 years old today, still doing some TV commercials and appearances and stuff like that. We had him on the show years and years and years ago, and he had shrunken down to a size where it almost made it impossible for you to believe that at some point that this man was a professional athlete. He just, I mean, you look at him and you go, it's not possible. He's not tall enough. He's not built like an athlete. And yet he was one of the best. But Yogi is still kicking at 86 years old. And so we say happy birthday to the Yogster. All right, JC's JC's eye candy today, as we said, going back to 1980. I actually conned Rodney Dangerfield into doing a television commercial for my radio show back in Milwaukee in 1980. He was very, very nice to me, but what a character this guy was. He was frantic walking around backstage. You know, the curtain was drawn, and I was backstage with him, and he kept peeking out the curtain to sort of see what the crowd, what does the crowd look like? Young crowd, old crowd, what does it look like? Well, and he was wearing, he had his wingtips on, beautifully shined. He had black socks on. He had garters holding the socks up, and then a white robe. And he had full makeup, and his hair was perfect, but he had a white robe, and you could just see him walking around like that backstage. And he didn't get dressed until the last second, but he was obsessed with what the crowd looked like. You know, was it an old crowd, young crowd, college kids, whatever? Oh, it'll be all right. It'll be all right, kid. It'll be all right. And wonderful memories of my evening with Rodney Dangerfield. We had a couple of more, but that was the big one back in Omaha in 1980, of all places. All right, that's it. JC's Daily Dose for the second to the last day of our 27th anniversary celebration of my arrival here in St. Louis. Thursday, May 12th is the day, and we talk to you every day along with Trish Gazelle on the Big 550 KTRS. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.